All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bids in the Dugout. Sorry, we're coming to y'all one day late with the game ending as late as it did on Sunday night. A little bit of frustration built in with that as well. Thought it might be better to sleep on it for a day before we come back and give you our thoughts on it. But Rebels overall go on the road to Auburn, take 2 out of 3. Really had a golden opportunity there, Hitch, take that third game and get out of there with the sweep and set ourselves up with a more clear, realistic path to the postseason. But kind of how it's been all year long, we weren't able to close the deal when we had the lead.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely glad we decided to wait, maybe to record because, it was a good, series sweep. My hair's sticking up. It
Mm-hmm.
was a good series sweep. Not series sweep, good series win. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if we would have recorded last night, I don't know that we could have experienced or we could have gotten that across as good of a win as it was with the way that game went down last night. But we'll get there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a very successful weekend. I think I have thoughts deeper than that, but I think we did
Yeah.
went in and we did the bare minimum of what we needed to do to stay on track, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it was good to see.
Yeah. And it was one of those where, to me, I kind of thought about it all weekend as the games were going on Friday, Saturday, and even the Sunday game as well. I kind of felt like it was different in the sense that Ole Miss didn't play their best baseball, but still found ways to win. Particularly on Saturday, I really felt that way. Sunday, obviously, is what it is. Friday, I thought we played a really good game, and it got hairy for absolutely no reason whatsoever, which we're about to dive into right now is that Friday game. But because I definitely have thoughts on it. Um, First of all, one of the things I want to get into real quick, we started over unders last week, and we both got Andrew Fisher's wrong. We said under 1.5 home runs. We took Furnace to do it, and Fisher just had an unbelievable series, hit home runs in all three of them. The Trayson Hughes one, if we would have known when we recorded that Ethan Leger wasn't going to play, then that thing would have been set at 2.5 instead of a half. So that one hits pretty easily. The Furnace 1.5 does not hit. Although I thought
I
he took
thought
some
it
pretty good
was.
swings on
Yeah.
Friday and Sunday. Saturday he was really struggling up there with all the spinners they were throwing him. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good weekend for most of the guys in our lineup, and we'll get to all of that. But kind of first, let's start with this Friday night game. Hitch, Rebels win 11-7. Felt a lot closer than that by the time the end of the game came up, though. Kind of got in a little bit of a jam there in the ninth. But as we work our way up to that particular point in the game, just kind of tell me what you saw. Start with Riley Maddox. I thought he pitched pretty well on Friday night.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's another outing where Riley Maddox doesn't get um, what he deserves, right, as a starting pitcher. Those numbers, when you look at them, are 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, only one earned run, right? So
Yeah,
had some hiccups behind him, and that's going to happen. But I
more of
think
the
he did
same.
a really good job. But I think he did a great job of keeping Auburn at bay. Man, he wore their fists out
He did.
on those
Mm-hmm.
right-handed hitters, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. But again, he went out there and he did what he needed to do on a Friday night, and we rewarded him. With let's see, he actually did get the win, so we
He did.
rewarded him with a win. So good
Yeah,
job, Riley
yeah,
Mack.
yeah, yeah. Kind of the big part there that I'm glad you brought up. He really wore the fist out of the Auburn hitters, and that's when you know that he's on, right? When
Mm-hmm.
he's getting into the handle of the bat like that, and causing them to swing. Those aren't going to be strikes most of the times, but the way he throws it with the sinking action that can tail back into the right-handed hitters like that, uh, he was really on. I thought he looked really good. Again, defense let him down. Had 2 errors, one by Luke Hill, one by Judd Udermark there that resulted in the uh, let me see what would be 3 unearned runs, 4 runs, one earned
Yeah.
there. Uh, really good game from the bullpen, though. I thought Braden Jones come in an inning and 2/3, kind of gave you a little bit of length there. Uh, Only one earned run, one walk, no strikeouts. Gunnar Dennis comes in, gets you an out. And then I think the performance of the night, from a bullpen standpoint, JT Quinn, he came in, kind of looked like he struggled a little bit directly out of the gate, but I thought he really picked it up there, and we know the emotion that he showed when he ends up getting out of that inning, with with the Rebels still up pretty big, but it still felt like a big moment for him to get out of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, Braden Jones came out and gave you some length, which was a big deal, because Riley Maddox only went the 5 innings, only threw 81 pitches, but Braden Jones comes out and
Mm-hmm.
gets you that bridge all the way to what, like the seventh. Um,
Yeah,
and then, yeah, you're right. JT Quinn came in, struggled a bit, found it, slider, 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 whatever
and
that pitch
just
is. He's got
ate him
that
up with the
curve
slider.
slider, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love emotion as the next person. Um, I wish JT toned it down just a bit. There, I don't necessarily understand that much emotion when you're up that big on a Friday night. To me, that's inviting them to want to get back at you. That's inviting the other team to say, "Hey, why are you celebrating this strikeout of this inning?" And then, as we saw come Sunday, it that kind of happened. But I thought he pitched great. I I wish he would use his fastball a touch more.
A little more.
Um,
Yeah.
but man, that
And I
thing
think that goes
just
back to
breaks unbelievably.
when we get to the Sunday game. I think that's when that really comes into play, using that fastball a little bit more. So they're not sitting on the slider, even though he did give up a home run off the fastball. The other one was the slider, because they
Got
saw
thoughts,
so
yeah.
many of them on Friday night, right? But again, overall, I thought it was a really good performance from JT. I personally don't have any issues with all the emotion that he showed. It got me fired up. Looked like it got the team a little bit fired up too. And look, right
Hmm.
now, this is a team that needed any sort of momentum that it could get, going into this series. So I didn't have any issue whatsoever with JT Quinn showing that kind of emotion. I will tell you right now what I 100% had all kinds of issues with on Friday night, Hitch, and that is
Oh, I
when the
know.
Rebels are up 11-5 in the ninth inning in Game One of a series, and you bring in your closer Connor Spencer. This is a guy that hasn't pitched multiple times on the weekend, very much at all this year, and bring him in up by 6 at that point, I think it was, when he came into the game, uh, really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because you look and he ends up going 1/3 of an inning, gives up 2 runs, 2 walks, throws 19 pitches. Yeah, you think maybe that's not just a whole lot of work, but for a guy that doesn't pitch multiple times on the weekend very often, you can look back and point at that and say, I don't really know what the thought process behind that was.
Yeah, for sure. And so I also don't have issue with JT Quinn's emotion. I love it. I love emotion. Give me all of it. My only thing is, be careful with when you use that emotion more than, a fist bump. Don't go too much, because it does invite the other team to say, "Hey, I'm probably going to be looking to get you back." But yeah, I was shocked with Connor Spencer when Connor Spencer was
I
out there.
was
It came
too.
back from commercial, and I was like, "Wait, what are we doing?" Blake was
Couldn't
beside
believe it.
me. Blake was beside me, and she was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, this is our closer. We're up, 6 runs."
6.
Uh, and she was like, "Well, maybe he just needs to pitch." I was like, "Yeah. Also, maybe he might need to pitch tomorrow night or
Sunday.
Sunday." And also, what I tried to tell her that she couldn't quite understand is that when you bring a guy like that in up 6 runs, it's different than when you bring
It's
him
different.
in a save situation. And sometimes guys like that don't always pitch well when it's not a safe situation. And that was my worry. And that's kind of what happened, because
Hmm.
what I had explained to her was like, yeah, but if Connor Spencer comes out here, walks a guy, gives up a hit, ends up having to throw, I don't know, 30 pitches, he's burnt for the weekend, right? Luckily, we got him
Hmm.
out, and he only had to throw 19, but that's what I was worried about, was he gets into some trouble. Mike tries to leave him in to have him pitch out of it, and we burn him for the weekend.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a really good point that you bring up. Guys like that, when they come in non-safe situations, you look at guys in the majors like Craig Kimbrell's one of those guys. When he comes in non-safe situations, he's not very good. Josh Hader's a guy the same way. If you want to go back to a guy like Ken Giles, he's another guy that
Mhm.
just gets absolutely rocked in non-safe situations. And I don't have the numbers in front of me. This would probably be a pretty fun exercise for us to do coming up later in the week. Go back and look at Connor Spencer's game logs. I'm pretty sure that he really struggles in non-safe situations. That's where the ballooned ERA comes from. Anytime he's in there in a 1, 2, 3 run game that is a safe situation, he's been absolutely lights out for us. So I think that definitely plays into the mindset for Connor, and that's another reason I didn't like it, just like you said. But we ended up bringing in Mason Morris. He was a bases loaded jam. Brings up, I can't remember the kid's name, Gavin Miller, who took over for Cooper
Yeah.
McMurray after he ended up getting ejected. And his first plate appearances is bases loaded, down four in the ninth inning, right? And so that ended up being a really big ejection for the Rebels, not having McMurray to the plate. Mason
Yeah.
Morris come in and did a really good job. 2/3 of an inning, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk, not allow any runs to score. Ends up getting the save for Ole Miss and really got the series started off on the right foot, even with all of the stuff we had there at the end of the game that ended up giving them a chance to potentially tie it. But overall, I thought it was a really good job by the bullpen. And then you look at the other side of the ball, the offensive side, and you get home runs from Jackson Ross, Andrew Fisher, and Will Furness, and then additional doubles by Jackson Ross, Andrew
Yep.
Fisher, Luke Hill, and Judd Udemark had two of them as well. Thought we really swung the bats well on Friday.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jackson Ross gets it started right up, at the
Yeah.
top, but at first pitch, second
Mm-hmm.
batter, first pitch, and he hits that ball over that big wall in left field, and then it just kind of, you know, we pile on from there,
Snowball.
and we
Yeah.
pile. I mean, we had scored 14 runs, had like or 11 runs, 14 hits.
11. Mm-hmm.
We only left 6 runners on base. Like I think
I
everybody in the
was looking
lineup.
at that. I was really impressed with that.
Yeah, everybody in the lineup said except for Ethan Groff had a hit. And then it was just
Mm.
a great thing to watch everybody hit in the lineup all the way down. Now, there were some spots that probably some guys would wish they would have had better at bats. Udemark comes to mind a couple of times, but
Yeah.
he also had a couple of big hits in the series. So
Two doubles.
you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
right. You got to take the well. I hate this phrase, but you got to take the good with the bad. Not saying that there was bad, but I'm saying just because he had a couple of tough at bats and looked real bad in some at bats doesn't mean that he's struggling or scuffling, right? Because in the
Yeah.
series he had a couple of really big hits.
Yeah, and look, kind of talking about Judd, he does go 2 for 5 with the two doubles, run and RBI. The other three at bats, he strikes out all three of them. But the big one, he didn't leave anybody on base. So
Mm-hmm.
those weren't super high leverage at bats where he ends up striking out. But your left fielder, Jackson Ross, what a game from him, man. And not only a game, a weekend. He goes 3 for 5 here, 3 runs, 2 RBIs, only leaves one guy on. Like I said, he had the double and the home run as well. Looking down, and the guy that's just locked in right now, Andrew Fisher, 2 for 5, 2 runs, 3 RBIs there for Andrew, and Will, a guy swinging as good as anybody, too, 2 for 4. Luke Hill just on an absolute tear right now, two for
Man, he's
four
red hot.
uh, with that double. Yeah, yeah. I did enjoy, and we're not quite there yet, but I do want to bring it up on Sunday, seeing him get elevated into the lineup with the way he's swinging the bat right now. I want to get his bat further up in the lineup. I would like to see him go back to lead off, bump Groff down behind Ross and Fisher and Furness and all those guys, kind of like when he was batting fifth or sixth or whatever it was a few weeks ago, and let Luke take over that leadoff spot again and get. I would say probably Andrew Fisher. I want him to get as many at bats as he can. I'd like to see him in the 2 hole, but kind of nitpicking a little bit there. Overall, though, really, really good job. Trayson Hughes, his first start in a while, goes 1 for 4 with an RBI and a walk. I thought he had a couple really good swings. One of them didn't result in a hit. It was a line drive right at a guy, but stayed back on the ball really well and drove a couple of them,
Yep.
and one of them resulted in a hit. So it's good to see him after a long layoff get back in there and really produce for us. And then again, his defense is second to none out there in right field. So overall, a really good game for the Rebels on Friday night. Took care of business, even though it got a little hairy there at the end. Uh, but then we get into the Saturday game, and that's one where it's a little bit more of a nail biter, right?
Yeah.
It's Auburn jumps out to a 2-0 lead early, but it's kind of what Ole Miss has done here lately. They've really learned to punch back immediately. You're down 2-0. You scratch a run across in the second inning on a Eli Birch fielder's choice that scored Udermark. Uh, and then Jackson Ross flied out and sacrificed home Ethan Groff in the third to get that thing tied up 2-2. And then Auburn comes right back in the fourth, scores 2 runs, and Ole Miss once again 2 runs in the fifth to answer that with Andrew
No,
Fisher
Andrew
home
Fisher.
run. So yeah, and then it was just a pitcher's duel all the way to the ninth until once again Andrew Fisher drives home the winning run. I thought it was a really interesting game from Liam Doyle. Um, we talk about it a good bit on this podcast, and I still think we're right on this. I don't think anybody in the country gets squeezed the way that Liam Doyle does at the plate, man. I mean, and I think it's because people aren't used to pitchers pitching up in the zone the way he does, and maybe
Maybe.
that's throwing umpires off. But I thought he threw the ball really, really well, but he just couldn't get a call.
Yeah, at times he threw the ball really well. The 5 strikeouts, that's the big number. If he's only got 5 strikeouts, it's probably because he didn't have his best stuff or something was going on that day because he's looking to strike guys out. Um, Only gave up 2 hits, right? But the 3 walks and you almost even wonder how that early error that he made in the first inning, affected him
Yeah.
from a mental or a mind standpoint, and also there was maybe another play behind him that didn't get made at a certain point, but. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it was just inconsistent. That's the word I would use for Liam
Mm-hmm.
Doyle on Saturday. Is inconsistent from a pitching standpoint, but also inconsistent from a balls and strike standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we were kind of texting back and forth during this game. Has he found a changeup all of a sudden? Like that was the weirdest thing. Like I don't know if that's the splitter. It's not the slider that he normally
Yeah,
throws. It has a lot more look. At first, I thought he was throwing a fastball, and then I looked up and saw 82. And me and you started talking then. And you're like, yeah, that's the splitter. And then he comes back against the righty, and he throws the same pitch, drops down 79. Just looked a hell of a lot like a changeup to me,
yeah.
though.
It looked, and I don't know the one that he threw that was like 79. To me, it had the action of a cutter. And
Uh-huh.
so probably what he's trying to do there is take some off of his fastball to make it, but still have the same arm action to make it look like a fastball to get those guys out in front. And it worked. But I don't know. I just always assumed he used that splitter as his changeup and
Yeah.
probably very rarely threw it to lefties. But I don't know. He might have
Yeah.
4 or 5 pitches that I don't even know about.
Yeah, well, I thought overall it was a good performance by him. Like I said, he really had to grind it out right there. I thought he pitched pretty well though overall. Just didn't get a lot of calls, especially with the error that he had in the first inning too. That kind of ran up the pitch count, kind of extended things a little bit. Um, I was really impressed with Josh Mallett's here. That looked a lot more like the Josh Mallett's we're used to. The slider was a lot tighter, had a lot bigger break on it. It didn't have that loop that we always
Yeah.
talk about that we've seen so far this year. And it seemed like he was throwing his fastball a little bit more too. I'd love to see a pitch breakdown of what he ended up throwing and how many times. But just overall, what were your thoughts on Josh Mallett? I thought he looked really good. Goes 2 1/3 innings, 2 hits, one walk, three strikeouts, no runs. Had that egregious error when he had to step off and throw to second base and he lobbed it into center field. And I think that might have pissed him off just a little bit because, boy, he was running through folks after that.
Yeah, it really did feel like once that happened, as embarrassing as it was, he
Mm-hmm.
really locked in. Because after that, it was I don't know if
Lights
anybody else
out.
got on base after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I loved the use of his fastball. I think that and I'll talk about it with JT Quinn as well. But I think that guys like Mallets and Quinn who rely so heavily, and even Mason Morris who relies so heavily on that slider breaking away. Um, I think after a few pitches, like a guy sees it a few times, especially that big looping, trying to get it over for a strike slider.
Yeah.
I think you have to show them a fastball in at some point in the at bat just to make them
Mm-hmm.
think, okay, just to make them have a decision. And I think Mallets did that really well. He had a couple of balls that got away from him where it looked like he maybe tried to overthrow the fastball, threw it over the catcher's head, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But that's okay. Show
Don't
them
forget
that
about
fastball.
pitches. It's fine though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Show them that fastball, and then that way they at least have to think, is it something besides the slider? But yeah, I thought
Yeah.
Mallett's pitched really well. He looked, after the throw over the second baseman, he looked like Josh Mallett's circa 2022.
22. Yeah, yeah, and kind of piggybacking off what you said with Mallets and Quinn and Morris using the fastball more, it'd be nice to see it. I think you can throw Grayson Saunier into that mix as well. He really falls in love with the slider, and for good reason. He's got a really good one. But I think just like you said, you do have to keep these guys honest with the fastball. Let them know that something hard's coming. If just put it in the back of their mind, and then you can break that slider off on them at that point. But yeah, overall, really great to see Josh Mallett's pitch the way he did there. And then maybe the story of the weekend, Wes Mendez comes in and the freshman is absolutely electric.
Mhm.
Goes the final 3 innings for us. No hits, no runs, one walk, one strikeout. Just really, really dialed in. Ends up getting the win, first career win. Uh, what strikes me about Wes is how fluid his motion is. It seems so effortless up there on the mound. Uh, just a great performance by the freshman and somebody that's going to work his way into some innings the last couple weeks of this season. I think. What'd you see from him?
Yeah, I thought he looked great. He only had the one strikeout, and with a guy like
Mm-hmm.
him, and there were so many left-handed batters in that lineup that you maybe would like to see a couple more strikeouts. But no runs. That's me nitpicking right there. No hits, no runs, and so uh, the thing about Wes Mendez that even he said this when they were interviewing him, and I thought that it was pretty. Mature for a freshman to think this way, but they asked him what he could get better on, and I was thinking the same thing as when I was watching him. Is it's almost the reverse or the flip of what we were just talking about with JT Quinn, Riley Maddox, and those guys, where against left-handed batters, he's going to use that slider away, 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 but he also needs to be able to pitch in on the hands and maybe even
Mm-hmm.
backdoor a slider from
Yeah.
time to time. And what he said was sometimes he gets loose in that fastball and he may hit a guy, a left-handed guy, and so he wants to work on that. And I thought that was very cerebral of the freshman to think that way instead of just say, I want to throw harder, I want to get more break on my slider. He was actually thinking situationally. If I'm pitching a guy away, 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 I want to be able to pinpoint a ball on the inside corner and either freeze him or get him to think about it. And so,
Yeah.
Wes Mendez looked great this weekend.
Yeah. 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 Look forward to seeing him the rest of the year and obviously the rest of his career here in Oxford. And then you look up and offense, it wasn't a great showing, but they did their jobs, right? Andrew Fisher with another home run. Uh, Ethan Groff with the double. He goes 1 for 2. Andrew Fisher 2 for 3 with the 3 RBIs, drives in. Trayson Hughes there in the ninth inning to give us the go-ahead lead there. Let's see here. Luke Hill, 2 more hits. I mean, it's just unbelievable what he's doing. Jackson Ross, 1 for 2 with 2 walks. Not an overly impressive offensive showing from this Ole Miss club, but the pitching kept them in it, and the
Yep.
offense did their job, and at the end of the day, got the job done. These are games we haven't won this year, so it was nice to see them get over the hump a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, where I the one thing about Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday, offensively, is too many strikeouts. I started noticing it, and the only reason I bring it up is because I started noticing it on Saturday when somebody would strike out. I looked up and they had all the Ks up there, and I thought, damn, I was like, damn, that's a lot of strikeouts. So I looked, and I can't remember how many had time. So I went back and looked at Friday night, and I was like, damn, we had 11 or 12 on Friday night, and we got 8 or 10 tonight, and it continued on into Sunday. That's the big hole in the offense throughout the weekend was the strikeouts, just way too many strikeouts. But like you said, we found a way to get it done, and the offense wasn't necessarily clicking like it was on Friday night.
Yeah. So good win for the Rebels, and at that point they really set themselves up to have a golden opportunity of sweeping this series and really getting this thing back on the rails, so to speak, going into Sunday. And look, kind of hard to argue at the start of this thing, right? You come out and Andrew Fisher hits a 2-run bomb in the first inning. Trayson Hughes hits an absolute moonshot to score 3 runs in the first inning. You look up and we're up 5-0 going into the bottom of the first here, and you've got to be feeling pretty good about our chances for a sweep then, right?
Yeah, really good. And then you realize what kind of day it was going to be. And it was a fun game to watch from an offensive standpoint. We can get into what happened later in the game, but yeah, we come out and good for Trayson Hughes, getting his first home run as an Ole Miss Red, and he knew it. I mean, when he hit it, he knew it. And you could tell that when he came across the plate, he had the biggest smile on his face because he was going to get to do the celebration, right?
Yeah.
And also, I think you're right. Like, I think that does get. I don't know if you can call it getting the. Well, yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you can call it at this point getting the bear off your back, but it does mentally get that. You don't have to think about I don't have a home run yet, and I had 14 last year, right? So maybe that starts clicking. And again, I'm glad that he was in the lineup all 3 nights just because of his defense. I don't think he made any spectacular plays necessarily out there, but he made some very good plays and plays that I don't think the other right fielders that have been playing out there, balls they would have gotten to. But yeah, the offense, I went on a tangent about Trayson Hughes there. I think that the offense on Sunday came out and punched Auburn in the mouth, and credit to them for not laying down.
Yeah, and I think maybe the phrase we were looking for, Trayson Hughes, is kind of like breaking the seal, right? You get the first one out of the way, and now you can kind of get rolling a little bit. Hopefully that'll happen for him. So really, really happy that he was up. And as far as the defensive part goes, you're right. He didn't make any spectacular plays, but he makes more difficult. He makes plays look easier than they really are because of how good he is out there, right? I think that may have been what you were trying to say during that.
Exactly.
And that's just what he's really, really good at. Mason Morris didn't have his best stuff here this weekend, Hitch. 2 in the 3rd inning, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned. Just another unearned run here for this Ole Miss pitching staff, and that wouldn't be the last one of the game, unfortunately. Did you see anything in particular out of Mason? I thought he lived up in the zone a little too much. He just couldn't get the ball down. And when you look at the way this game played out, where they end up scoring in the first 4 innings, in every inning for the first 4 innings, that kind of seems to track a little bit. Because if you stay up the entire game and your name's not Liam Dole, you're probably not going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, I mean, I did see something, not necessarily with Mason Morris, but with the bullpen in general. We used the same guys on Sunday that we used on Friday night, right? Almost the same order.
Almost.
And
I meant Mason Nichols, by the way, not Morris.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, we'll get to that in a second. Mason Nichols,
Yeah.
I thought Mason Nichols pitched well, well enough. It was just one of those days where guys, it was a Sunday in the SEC, right? There were going to be runs scored on both sides. I don't think he necessarily pitched, bad. He only had the one walk, 3 strikeouts, 3 flyouts. I mean, that's how he's going to pitch. But yeah, sorry. I thought you said Mason Morris. That's on me.
I may have, who knows? But kind of getting into the bullpen right here, that what you started saying was one of the things I was going to bring up as well. We went with basically the exact same pitching rotation out of the bullpen on Sunday as we did on Friday. That was a little puzzling to me because we've got more arms than this. Not that there's anything wrong with these arms, but you don't know how these guys are going to bounce back because I'm sitting here trying to think. I think Gunnar Dennis has thrown more than once on the weekend the last couple of weeks. I know Braden Jones has. We know he can do it multiple times. But I still think you've got guys like Sam Takoyan would be a guy that I would have loved to have seen in one of those spots. I don't know which one in particular, but you could have brought him in to alleviate some of your bullpen woes there. And quite frankly, I'd love to see Grayson Saunier come in and throw one inning out of the bullpen, right? One max inning or max effort inning out of the pen. I know he pitched on Tuesday night, but by the time Sunday rolls around, he should be good to go to give you an inning. And then if you got to do something weird on Tuesday during a midweek game, whatever, just do that. I don't really care about midweeks at this point, But I thought it was weird that we did go with the same guys: Mason Morris, Braden Jones, Gunnar Dennis, JT Quinn, and Connor Spencer again. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about with that Friday night game that, there's no reason to bring him in up 6 runs on a Friday night because you don't know what you need on Saturday, Sunday. Turns out on Sunday we really, really needed him. But overall, let's kind of go down the line here. Mason.
You needed him on Saturday. You needed it before you get into that. Yeah. You needed him on Saturday. Luckily, you had a freshman that came out and threw 3 innings. But I mean, when Wes Mendez came out for the 9th, I was like, "Whoa, what are we doing?" But luckily, he came out and performed. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I just want to say, but like you needed him before Sunday.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I had that same thought sitting there watching it live, but like I said, luckily Wes Mendez came in and was able to get that 3rd inning and not have any trouble. But Mason Morris pitched again 2 in the 3rd innings. He's giving you a little bit of length here: 2 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, which was not ideal, obviously. But then Braden Jones comes in right behind and gives you a good effort. Inning in the 3rd, 1 hit, no walk, no strikeouts, but pretty clean for the most part. Gunnar Dennis does not record an out, gives up 2 hits and a run, whatever, man. And then JT Quinn made 2 mistakes in the 8th inning, right? Outside of that, I thought he pitched really well. But those 2 mistakes in the 8th were obviously really big when you go back and look. But he gives you some length. 2 and 2/3 inning. He gets the first 2 outs of the 9th, right? So and the 3rd guy's down 0-1, I think it is, and then he ends up hitting the just. I'm not even gonna call it a screamer, a bouncer down the first baseline. Ends up getting a triple out of it, and that gets the tying run at 3rd base. And then he gives up the single to tie it up. And then after that, it is pass ball, pass ball, pass ball. They're all scored wild pitches in the box score.
That's crazy.
I don't think a single one was a wild pitch.
And I think, well, the first one was pass ball. The second one in my scorebook, the second one, the guy stole 3rd. So I don't know that it scored a pass ball or a wild pitch at all. It probably should be. I mean, it got by him, but he stole 3rd. and then the third pitch was absolutely a passed ball. Like
pass ball. Yeah.
It hit him in the glove.
Yeah. And it wasn't in the dirt or anything. It was, shin high. It was low. It wasn't going to be a strike, but it's one that you have to come up with if you're a catcher. And look, as far as Smithwick being in there, we are going into the ninth inning there, and we're down at that point? 6-8. So we're down 2 runs at that point.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, we're down 2 because Fisher drives all 3 of them in to put us up 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Birch was going to be leading off that inning, if I remember right. So he put Smithwick in there, obviously a better hitter than Birch. Gets the hit, kind of gets the rally started. So kudos to him for doing that. I saw a thing, I think it was Red Cup Rebellion or some shit on Twitter, before the game, wondering why Eli Birch was playing over Campbell Smithwick, because he put up batting averages and SEC play and all that, and there's no reason to play Eli Birch over Campbell Smithwick at catcher. That's why. That's why you do it. I mean, and look, I don't like giving the lineup spot away. Birch isn't the best offensive player, obviously. He goes 0 for 2 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. But one thing he's done a really good job of since he's regained possession of the starting catching role is he's limited those pass balls. He hadn't been perfect back there, but he's been pretty good overall. Not a whole lot has been able to get by him since he's gotten back there. And you've got to give your pitchers some kind of help. That's why Eli Birch is in there. That's why I think he has to remain the starting catcher the remainder of the season. Now, if you wanted to say pinch hit Smithwick, bring in Trenton Lines defensively in the ninth inning, I'll listen to that argument. But pulling Birch, I think, was the right call in the ninth. But, man, you've just got to be better behind the plate than that, especially with the game on the line.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, for once this weekend, it felt like Mike pulled the right string and got Smithwick in there. And you just have to trust your Mr. 6A baseball that he's going to catch the ball. And he didn't. And I'm not going to beat up on the kid. I mean, it sucks. He knows that he should have caught it. And so it's not that in retrospect, it's just one game, right? Whatever. But as far as the call, I think Mike made the right call. I just think that we didn't execute it or Campbell Smithwick's execution was lacking.
No. Mike Bianco absolutely pushed all the right buttons this weekend. I thought he did a hell of a job from a managerial standpoint.
No, he did not push all the right buttons.
Smithwick shouldn't have been catching in the ninth.
No, yeah, I get that.
Pitched on Friday. I can sit here and nitpick a couple things. Overall, I thought he had a pretty good weekend, though.
I don't know. I mean, the whole thing about the bullpen on Sunday is what I wanted to get to is. So not only did we use the same guys, right, as we did on Friday night against the same team, but it's also the same guys that rely on the same pitch, right? That it's right-handed guys, right? Mason Morris, like you said, Braden Jones pitched well. Gunnar Dennis is the soft tossing lefty, right? They saw him on Friday night. You can't see a guy like that 2 times in a weekend, right? And then Mason Morris, JT Quinn, right? Those are guys that rely heavily on that slider. That's all that they saw from JT Quinn on Friday night, right? And so talking about the home run that they hit off the fastball, right? I guess the argument back to me would be, well, you saw what happened when he threw his fastball. I think that kid's game plan going to the plate was he has thrown nothing but sliders. If he throws me a fastball, I'm going to hit it over the fence. I'm ambushing it, and that's exactly what he did. And then you saw JT Quinn go back to the slider with Ike Irish. Ike Irish, it wasn't a bad pitch. Ike Irish hit that ball well. That was a good piece of hitting, And then he comes back out for the ninth, and he strikes the first 2 guys out. So it's not like JT Quinn didn't have good stuff.
Mhm.
I think that by Mike running the same guys out there who rely on that a pitch so much. They rely on that slider. I bet they throw their sliders 75, 80% of the time, right?
Yeah.
So when you do that, guys in that lineup in the other dugout, they see, oh, we saw this guy on Friday night. I've already seen all of his pitches. I know what to expect. And so I thought it seemed like the bad call to do that, right? You have guys down in the bullpen like Takuian, even Kyler Carmack, who has shown that he can pitch. I would like to have seen other guys that come out, and maybe we would have seen something different come out on a different outcome on Sunday, because those guys in the Auburn dugout were like, we've seen these guys. We know it.
Yeah, yeah, and kind of going back to your point with the fastball that got hit over the fence, that was Cooper Weiss, the shortstop for Auburn. He hadn't been swinging the bat particularly well over the last few weeks, and when you do that, you go up and you hunt for a fastball, right? You go
Yeah.
up and you try to find something hard and straight that you can get a barrel onto. That was just a bad time and the worst hitter to throw a fastball to, because he's up there looking for nothing but that. He ended up getting it, absolutely drilled it. But again, I thought overall it was a good weekend for JT Quinn, minus those 2 pitches. And he still challenged Irish
Yes.
with his best pitch, made a good pitch. It just ended up getting crushed, and that obviously sucks. But
Right. Yeah. I guess that was my long way of saying I don't think JT Quinn pitched bad,
mhm.
or 3 earned runs, 4 runs overall. I don't think he pitched bad. I think Mike put him in a bad spot, and I think that he
Okay.
may have put a small target on his back on Friday night by being so emotional that guys were going to the plate saying, "Hey, I'm fixing to hit this guy." And then he ran into, like you said, Cooper Weiss, who's struggling, looking probably for a fastball and saying, I'm not swinging
Mhm.
anything till I get one. And I think that was probably a culmination of a lot of things there.
Yeah, well, I think you're being a little bit hypocritical right now, Hitch, because if he would have come out on Sunday and absolutely shoved like he did on Friday, you would have
Uh,
been so fired up that he did that on Friday night to give
Not
you
on
the run
Friday
advantage.
night.
Because I
But
know
see, he
you, I know
started it.
you.
You don't, but no, but you, don't- but that you, if you know me, then you know that you don't start talking shit, right? Like you only do it as an answer to somebody else, right?
Got to work your way up a little bit, huh?
Yeah, yeah. You don't,
Yeah.
because if you do it, like if you do something great and then
hmm
start talking to the other team, as the other
hmm
team, what do you expect they're going to do? Now they're coming after you, right? But
Oh no, you've got a target on your back for sure. But
yeah,
I think it makes it even better when you go up there and shut them up with that target. Obviously, that didn't happen, so we can't even have that conversation. But yeah, really, really sucks that we end up dropping that game after that rally there in the ninth inning to
yeah, man,
separate
I
us down by 2 runs.
really thought,
Uh, Andrew Fisher with the double to drive in Luke Hill, Ethan Groff, and Campbell Smithwick to give us the lead. And just kind of running down some of these hitters right here.
well, I mean, Jackson
All
Ross
two
with an
for
absolute laser to center
yes,
field
yeah,
to tie it up, man. That he
hmm
hammered that ball.
yeah, yeah. And then obviously Fisher with another home run, Tracy Hughes with a home run, like we've talked about. But just looking at the top of this lineup, I'm just going to run through it real quick. The 1 through 5, and it's going to tail off at the 4 and 5, but it's still pretty good. You have Ethan Groff 2 for 5 with a run, Luke Hill 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a walk, Andrew Fisher 2 for 5 with a run, 5 RBIs. Jackson Ross, your left fielder, goes 1 for 3, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, 2 walks. That's what he does, right? He just keeps walking. Will Furnace 1 for 4 with a walk and a run. Uh, and then you have the Udermark 0 for 5 before you get to the Tracy Hughes 1 for 4 with the big 3 run home run. Just all through this lineup, particularly the top part of it, it was just really impressive
Mm-hmm.
by these guys. Just they really deserve better than what they got. I felt like.
Yeah, I mean, everybody contributed, right?
Yeah.
I think we only left 6 guys on base again, maybe
Six
on.
base. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Just six. Yeah.
it's the
And
strikeouts.
three of them 3 of them by Udermark when he went 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts and left
Yeah,
3 on.
he had some opportunities on Sunday to extend the lead there early, and then also, and hey, he's got to make it some adjustments because they have the book on him. It looks like he's seeing nothing but big breaking sliders. And
Slides.
look, there was an at bat he had yesterday. I don't remember when in the game it was, but he had two.
I think
He
I know which
missed
one you're
two
talking
pitches.
about.
That there were two
Yeah.
pitches that the guy made a mistake and left the spinners in the zone, and he missed both of them. So he may be, just needs to just reset, right? Because that
Yeah.
when you're missing those pitches, it's almost like you're pressing too hard. You're not scuffling, like we said, because he had a couple of doubles on the weekend. It's just maybe you're pressing too hard, so you take a step back, take a breath, and maybe it comes to you.
I feel like one of the things that Judd has a real problem with is recognizing the slider out of the hand. He's reading maybe fastball out of the hand because he swings so much at the slider low in a way that's not even close to the zone that'll start at the lower left quadrant of the strike zone when it releases from the hand and then end up not close. But then
And
how
just
many
dies.
sliders do you see? How many did you see him take belt high? You know, outer third of the plate that he didn't even swing at because when they
Yeah.
release it, it's an inside pitch,
At the letters.
letter high or whatever, and he just never recognized. I think that's what's going on with Judd right now. And look, that's something that you can be coached up on. That's something that you can
Oh
improve
yeah.
on. It's only going to get better with reps. I believe in Judd Udermark. The ceiling is sky high for this guy. I want to see him stay in the lineup and keep getting at bats. That way he can keep seeing it and hopefully make that adjustment to where he's the kind of hitter that, because look, every time he makes contact, it's hard. I mean, he hits the shit out of the ball.
Oh yeah. I think we could see a Kemp Alderman-esque jump from sophomore to junior year, and a couple of guys actually. I'm hoping we get
Yeah.
that out of Furnace too.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that'll be real fun to talk about in the off season when it finally gets here. Hopefully, we've got a few more weeks of meaningful baseball before we have to get into what next year looks like and some potential jumps from some guys. So, but that's kind of what the Rebels did this weekend. Good weekend, 1-2 out of 3. Obviously disappointing, however. The road gets a little tougher for Ole Miss if you have postseason aspirations, and we'll dive into all that a little bit more this week with the Aggies coming into town. Make sure to tune in on Wednesday night, 5 p.m. We rescheduled that game with Murray State that ended up getting rained out, so that'll be in Oxford, 5 p.m. on Wednesday. That would be a good win for Ole Miss. They're a top 75 RPI team. Murray State is, so it's not going to be any kind of pushover. And right now, you need to stack wins everywhere you can. So it'll be interesting how the Rebels respond there before they welcome the Aggies into town. But that's all I got, Hitch, today. You got anything else to add?
Nope. Hotty toddy.
All right. Well, yeah, hotty toddy. All right, guys, we will get back with y'all again later this week when we preview the Texas A&M Aggies coming into Oxford for a 3-game set and see what the Rebels need to do to hopefully make a run at this thing. So appreciate y'all tuning in again. SC After Dark YouTube channel and Spotify. You can find us at both places there. So appreciate y'all listening, and we'll talk to y'all later this week. Hi, Toddy.